本気で逃げ出せるとでも思ったのか。
He snatched me from the floor in one smooth motion with cat-like grace. Let me
逃げる
go.
んだろうがこのアホ。
But I don't want to die. There's something I have to do.
年派もいかねえ小娘が下手な男装までして何を果たそうってんだ。
He knew! He knew the whole time! Hello besties, welcome back to another episode of Hakuoki. We are going to be getting into chapter 1. If you have not seen the prologue, go ahead and take a look. It's on the YouTube channel. Other than that, let's go ahead and hop on into it and let's meet our men. Was it morning? I don't know, was it? What happened to me? I attempted to recollect myself. Ah, yes. Right. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back to me. This isn't my room. My limbs were snugly bound in tight knots, so all I could do was wiggle around in my bed, twisting the blankets around me. I yearned for the comfort of my own futon, but the futility of such thoughts only forced me to confront the reality of my situation. If only I could wake from this strange nightmare, but I could not. Those men from the night before must have taken me with them into the headquarters of the Shinsengumi, a military unit made up of Ronin, the purpose of which was to restore public order in Kyoto and counteract the local anti-shogunate forces. What will happen to me now? I inhaled deeply, lying down to await my fate. It was at that moment that the door slid open and a kind-looking man stepped through.
ああ、目が覚めたかい。すまんな、こんな扱いで。今、縄を緩めるから少し待ってくれ。
His smile quirked as he removed my ropes. My wrists, however, were left bound. And you are?
ああ、そうか。私はね、井上源三郎というんだ。
Captain of the Shinsengumi 6th Division, a native of Edo, he studied swordplay with Kondo, Hijikata, and Okita. He's sometimes referred to as Gen by his close friends. Hijikata, and Kondo, Okita. Okay, cool. Thank you, Inoue?
さて、ちょっと来てくれるかい？今朝から幹部連中であんたについて話し合っているんだが、昨べあんたが何を見たのか確かめておきたいってことになってね。
Okay. I nodded curtly and struggled to stand, but my body was sore from being bound up all night. Inoue treated me with something like courtesy, but it was clear that I was in a lesser position. He must have been able to guess my thoughts, however, because he smiled at me and winked.
心配しなくても大丈夫さ。なりは怖いが気のいい者たちばかりだよ。
Oh. Even at home, I heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengumi that were unflattering. It was hard to imagine that the people in charge of such an organization were
一番
gentlemen.
年の若い東堂君は君よりちょっと年上くらいだよ。
Todo. That's what he said. Todo.
それに長倉君と原田君という賑やかな二人組もいるから大丈夫。
Despite Inoue's reassurances, it was difficult for me to trust what I was hearing as accurate. Excuse me? Inoue led me to a room, opened the door, I stepped inside, and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Their eyes dug into me like sharp knives. I stared before me and then gulped nervously.
おはよう。昨日はよく眠れた？
Well, it wasn't particularly comfortable.
ふん、そうなんだ。さっき僕が声をかけた時には、君、全然起きてくれなかったよね。
What was he poking on?
幸せそうな寝顔で、ぐっすりだったみたいだけど。
What? Yeah, no, yeah, what were you poking on, boy?
からかわれているだけだ。掃除はあんたの部屋になど行ってない。
Quite silent, I stared at Okita. Captain of the Captain of the Shinsengumi's 1st Division, he's a native of Edo. His brilliant prowess as a swordsman developed by training with Kondo and Hijikata. With his grin still spread along his face, he glanced over to Saito. Captain of the 3rd Division of the Shinsengumi, he's a native of Edo. He wields his sword in his left hand and fights with incredible skill. So he's a lefty. Cute.
もう少しこの子の反応を見たかったんだけどな。はじめくんもひどいよね。勝手にバラすなんてさ。
I don't think Saito did anything wrong. You, on the other hand.
おいてめえら、無駄口ばっか叩いてんじゃねえ。
Hijikata's voice brooked no further insubordination. Okita shrugged and fell silent, but the smile lingered through his bright eyes. The commander of Shinsengumi. He is Kondo's longtime friend who helped form the Shinsengumi in Kyoto. Kondo calls him Toshi. Okay, Toshi. We'll get there. We'll get on a first name basis.
でさ、土方さん。
The man who spoke was, well, he looked more like a boy than a man. Which one does? I think it's this one that we're referring to. Maybe this is the youthful Shinsengumi captain that Inoue was describing to me. Their faces were still blessed with youth. In fact, one might even confuse them at first glance for a gang of bohemian thugs. Whoa.
まだガキだろこいつ。
What are we looking at here? He's a real stick, huh? Just a kid. Oh yes, they do still think I'm just a boy.
お前がガキとか言うなよ、平介。
だな。世間様から見りゃ、平介もこいつも似たようなもんだろうよ。
ガキ扱いしていいのは、俺みたいな立派な大人になってからだぜ。
立派な大人って。まあ、新八が言っても説得力も何もねえがな。
Two nearby men replied to Toto, with very mocking but light-hearted tones. Who is this Toto? He's the smaller one. Okay, cool. Captain of the Shinsengumi's 8th Division. He's a native of Edo. He is the youngest captain and is known for being particularly energetic. I somewhat recalled Inoue's description of the two energetic members. His mention of them was brief, but seeing them in person was an eye-opening experience. He said the short-haired one was Nagakura, and the other with long-haired hair was Harada. The captain of the Shinsengumi's 2nd Division. He is native of Edo and skilled swordsman. He is upbeat and cheerful, and he frequently helps raise the morale of the men in the command.
うるさいな。おじさん2人は黙ってなよ。
ふざけんなよこのお坊ちゃまが。俺らにそんな口聞いていいと思ってんのか？
平介におじさん呼ばわりされるほど年は食ってねえよ。新八はともかく、俺はな。
てめえ、裏切るのか佐野。
へへ、新八さん図星されて怒るって大人げねえよな。
Their back and forth rapport seems developed into a rhythm from years of friendship, which predated my arrival and made me foreign here. I sensed something apart from curiosity towards me, though, like a feeling of animosity. Despite their cheerful levity, they had not forgiven my presence among them. Suddenly, I wanted very much to go home. I wanted to leave this place and never return. My chest tightened, and I stared down, hoping to wake up in bed with all of this only a memory.
口さがない方ばかりで申し訳ありません。
His voice was calm and warm, and I felt myself relax, even if only a little bit.
何言ってんだ。一番怖いのはあんただろう、三男さん。
A colonel on the Shinsengumi, he is a native of Edo. He acts primarily as a consultant to the chief of the Shinsengumi, Isami Kondu. As he finished speaking, the rest of the men nodded sullenly in agreement. I wondered, who could possibly command such fear and respect from these men?
おや、心外ですね。皆さんはともかく鬼の副長まで何をおっしゃるんです。私はいつだって新選組の規範を第一に考えているだけですよ。その規範、ご法度を決めたのは土方君。
確かに決めたのは俺だ。だが今はそんなことを言ってる時じゃねえだろう。
The man called Sanan and Hijikata stared at one another with a smirk.
トシと三男君は相変わらず仲が良いな。
This is Kondo. Hijikata and Sanan sounded distant when they spoke to one another, not exactly friendly. Still, the man who spoke had certainly sounded as though he thought they were friends.
ああ、自己紹介が遅れたな。俺が新選組局長、近藤勇だ。
One of the founders of the Shinsengumi, an organization created to help keep the peace in Kyoto. He is originally from Edo. When you say chief, do you mean to say that you are the most important man in the Shinsengumi?
いや、まあ、俺が偉いわけじゃない。皆の代表ということだよ。それからそこの都市が副長で、横にいる三男君は総長を務めていて。
いや、近藤さん、なんでいろいろ教えてやってんだよ、あんたは。
まずいのか。
That's cute.
情報を与える必要がないんだったら黙ってる方が得策なんじゃないですかね。
わざわざ教えてやる義理はないと思うけど。
確かにそうなんだが、紹介しないことには話が進まんだろう。
Harada glanced over at Kondo and let out a bark of laughter.
ここまで来たら知られて困ることもねえけどな。
Kondo had looked rather disappointed when Hijikata spoke, but he perked up at Harada's words. Despite knowing him for 5 minutes, it's easy to see that his words resonated well with his men. He had a sort of charisma that simply drew you in, a man who was impossible to
さ
hate.
て、本題に入ろう。まずは改めて昨晩の話を聞かせてくれるか。
はい。昨晩京の都を夜間巡察中、不老の老子と遭遇。一部の大使らが老子を無力化しましたが、その折彼らが失敗した様子をこの者に目撃されています。
As he finished, Saito turned to look at me. What you want? Look at me if you want to. I didn't see anything. Even with my insistence, Hijikata continued to stare at me with a harsh glance. Saito remained expressionless, and the smile on Okita's face didn't change.
なあ、お前本当に何も見てないのか。
Yes, I didn't see anything.
見てないんならいいんだけどさ。
あれ、掃除の話じゃお前が大使どもを助けてくれたって話だったが。
No, that's not true. I glanced over at Okita, but his smile remained. Whatever he was thinking was a mystery to me. Okita's gonna piss me off. He's just been playing with me from the beginning. I was running away from the Ronin. Then some people with Shinsengumi uniforms appeared. Really, they sort of rescued
つま
me.
り 大使どもが老子を切り殺してる場面はしっかり見たってわけだな。
I couldn't actually, I couldn't exactly deny that. However, I knew that choosing to stay silent would implicate me deeper than lying.
つまり最初から最後まで一部始終を見てたってことか。お前、根が素直なんだろうな。それ自体は悪いことじゃないんだろうが。
I wasn't sure what to make of Hawada's words. My presence seemed bad for the Shinsengumi. Would their next words be ones condemning me to death for being at the wrong place and time? My voice shook, but I knew I had to try. I won't tell anyone, I promise.
偶然老子に絡まれていたという君が私たちに敵対するものとまでは言いませんが。
Bro, why you got your hand on your weapon, bro? Like you finna come slice me, bro.
君に言うつもりがなくとも相手の誘導尋問に乗せられる可能性はある。
Whimper. His voice was still warm, but his words were cold, and I began to feel my chances at life slip away.
話さないというのは簡単だが、この者が新選組に義理立てする理由もない。
約束を破らない保証なんてないですし、やっぱり解放するのは難しいですよね。ほら、殺しちゃいましょうよ。口封じするならそれが一番じゃないですか。
そうじ、物騒なことを言うな。お上の民をむやみに殺して何とする。
そんな顔しないでくださいよ。今のはただの冗談ですから。
あんたは冗談に聞こえる冗談を言え。
After being rebuked by Saito, Okita gave a playful smile.
しかしなんとかならんのかね。まだこんな子供だろう。
私も何とかしてあげたいとは思いますが、うっかり漏らされでもしたら一大事です。さて、私は副長のご意見を伺いたいのですが、いかがですか、土方副長。
Hijikata. The men looked to Hijikata, listening intently. He sighed and glanced around the room.
俺たちは昨晩指導に背いた大使を粛清した。こいつ
それだけだとおっしゃりたいんですか。
実際このガキの認識なんざその程度のもんだとは思うんだ
けどよ、こればっかりは大義のためにも内密にしなきゃなんねえことだよな。新選組の大使は血に狂ってるなんて噂が立ちゃ、俺らのタイムにだって支障が出るぜ。
Shinpachi's words made sense to everyone. Hijikata's face looked grim.
おい、言葉を慎め。俺は指導に背いた大使を粛清したと言ったはずだぞ。
でもまあ、どっちみち見たことは変わらないんですけどね。
宗司の意見にも一理あると思うが、
俺は逃がしてやってもいいと思う。こいつは別にあいつらが血に狂った理由を知っちまったわけでもないんだしさ。
What do you mean, everything? I couldn't help but wonder aloud, and the mood in the room shifted to an icy silence.
スケ、余計な情報をくれてやるな。
悪い。
ああ、これでますます君の無罪放免が難しくなっちゃったね。
Whimper.
何したるもの、死ぬ覚悟くらいできてんだろ。お前も諦めて腹くくっちまいな。
A man? Oh, that's right. They still believe me to be a boy. Put these things out, man. With everything else that had happened, I'd completely forgotten how I was
確
dressed.
かに潔く死ぬのも男の道だな。俺も若い頃は切腹したし。
佐野の場合、まだ生きてるけどな。
Their jokes were barbaric, but they both broke into raucous laughter.
副長、結論も出ないことですし、一旦この者を部屋に戻してはどうでしょうか。同席させた状態で誰かが機密を漏らせば。
He was right. If I remained with them, then I could easily hear something I wasn't supposed to. I didn't think he'd mention it for my sake, but rather as a possible concern for their group. I was still relieved when he brought it up.
そういうことにするか。ちょっと調べたいこともあるし。
私もその判断には賛成しますよ。
三男さん、わざわざこっち見て言うとかきついよ。
まあ仕方ねえよ。うかつなのは俺らの担当だろ。主に平助とかな。
そんな責めるなよ。俺だって悪気はなかったんだからさ。
I could hear Toto's voice rise as everyone turned to look at him. He looked at them for a bit, then turned to me and mumbled in a voice I could barely hear.
あのさ、悪かったな。
I was still apprehensive about what they might do to me, so I couldn't quite respond to him well. But he seemed to understand, and I curtly managed to nod. It was the most I could manage.
それじゃ斉藤、こいつを頼む。
承知しました。
Alright. Let's go, Saito. Warrior record has been unlocked. After returning to my room, I'd spent some time reflecting upon my state and my still bound hands. The rumors spoke of the Shinsengumi as vicious men, but they seemed more intimate, human to me. Still, their presence or their being lingered through me, as if to say, we are not killers, but to protect our code, we must bring death. Remaining here is only bringing me closer to the possibility of them killing me. I don't know if I can convince them to spare me. Just as I have no loyalty to them, they have no loyalty to me, only the Shinsengumi. But then, they mentioned a man must always be ready to face death, so are they still mistaking me for a man? Could I possibly risk exposing my true identity in exchange for mercy on my life? But this could just as easily backfire for me, and it could exact an even worse fate. I was truly at a loss for what to do. I gotta get out of here, baby. I had to try and escape. Meaning I needed to get moving immediately. Staying in this room did nothing to help me. Fortunately, they hadn't bothered to tie me up completely again. Only my hands were bound. That would slow me down, certainly, but so long as I could move my legs, I stood a chance. All right now, the exit is... I cast my memory back to when they brought me into the building the night before. Right, I'm sure it would work out. I stood up, holding my breath. I edged towards the door. I knew it was rude, but I had no choice but to try and open the sliding door with my toe. But... I was almost there when suddenly it flew open all on its own, revealing... I stumbled straight into Kondo.
いや、ずいぶん大胆な方ですね。まさか逃げるつもりだったんですか？勝手に動いては困りますね。君の身が余計に危うくなるだけですよ。
His voice was calm and not unfriendly, but his eyes were frigid and calculating. Too late, I realized why they hadn't bothered to tie me up again. They'd been watching me.
逃げれば切る。
残念だけど、殺しちゃうしかないかな。
Okita smiled. He didn't look very sorry. Bro, if I run, they're gonna kill me. I had no choice but to run. Let's go. We were finna get cut the fuck down. If I was going to die anyway, then I had nothing to lose by trying to escape. Slipping around the stunned Kondu, I took off down the hallway.
お前
I knew
な、
it.
本気で逃げ出せるとでも思ったのか。
He snatched me from the floor in one smooth motion with cat-like grace. Let me
逃げる
go.
んだろうがこのアホ。
But I don't want to die. There's something I have to do.
年派もいかねえ小娘が下手な男装までして何を果たそうってんだ。
He knew! He knew the whole time! Did he just say girl? When I stopped flapping my feet and my arms, Hijikata put me back on the floor. Sir? I looked up Hijikata and he did not seem happy at all. Did you just say girl? I was scared. There was no denying it. Sanan looked at us and nodded.
なるほど。やはり女性だったんですか、君は。
どう見ても女の子だよね。君は綺麗に化けたつもりかもしれないけど。
Wait, so all of you knew from the start? Was my disguise that unnatural? I wasn't quite sure what to think.
この近藤勇、一生の深く。まさか君が女子だったとは。
Well, perhaps they hadn't all known. I confess his reaction put me more at ease.
命を懸けられる理由があるんだ。ごまかさずに全部。
I looked back at him and nodded. There I was, surrounded once again by the leaders of the Shinsengumi.
少年にしては華奢で可愛らしい顔をしていると思っていたんだが、まさか本当に女子だったとはな。
Kondu was nodding his head repeatedly, as if he were agreeing with a very intelligent suggestion. For him to notice the softness of my features, it flattered me a bit.
ああ、女だって聞いてから見ると女にしか見えなくなってくるんだよ
しかし女の子を一晩縄で縛っておくとは悪いことをしたね。
でもよ、女だって言うが別に証拠はないんだろ。
Hey, if you want proof, I'll bust out the proof right here, baby. How many of y'all's in here?
証拠も何も一目瞭然だろうが。なんなら脱がせてみるか。
許さんぞ。衆目の中、女子に肌をさらさせるなど言語道断。
Thank you.
だがまあ、それが一番手っ取り早いと思ったんだ。無理にとは言わないがな。
You little perv. And that's why he kind of looks like Hisoka.
殺しまうのも忍びねえよ
何甘いこと言ってるんだ。男だろうが女だろうが性別の違いは生かす理由にならねえだろう。
もっともです。ですが女性に限らずそもそも人を殺すのは忍びないことですよ。今日の治安を守るために組織された私たちが無益な殺生をするわけにはいきません。
結局女の子だろうが男の子だろうが今日の平安を乱しかねないなら話は別ですよね。
The Shinsengumi had already suffered a very gruesome reputation in Kyoto. If rumors spread that their men were thirsty for blood, things weren't likely to go well for them. Kyoto would banish them, and with no one to protect the people, the city would erupt into chaos. Each of their members deeply understood the consequences of behaving rashly in these times.
悪いがお前の荷物を改めさせてもらったぞ。どうやら江戸からここまで一人で来た。荷物はわずかな着替えと一月分の小銭、それと数通の手紙とこの小立。手紙には幕府御殿医の松本良順の名前が。お前の目的は何だ？
The minute my name was spoken, the vibe in the room shifted immensely. Everyone wore a stunned expression, eyes wide, and no words were uttered in response until...
土方さん、その名前は。
おいおい、偶然にしちゃって行き過ぎだぜ。
まあ待て。それを判断するためにもまずは君の話を聞かせてくれるかな。
At Kondo's behest, I stood up to speak. My name is Dia Yukimura. Under the watchful eyes of the leaders, I sharply described how I came to face them, how I lived in Edo, how I'd come to Kyoto to find my father, how lonely the city felt before I arrived.
そうか、 出身も江戸だったのだな。父上を探して遠路はるばる京に来たのか。してお父上は何という方かね。
My father is Koto Yukimura.
つながった
What are you talking
あな
about?
たが持っていた手紙の筆跡、これはまさに光道さんのものでしたが、まさか本当に光道さんのご息女とはね。
You know my father? They know my daddy? The silence was enough to tell me that the revelation of my parentage caused a pronounced change in their behavior.
どこまで知ってる？
What information are you talking about? What is. Bro, lose your tooth. Fall in love with me already.
いいから洗いざらい全部吐け！何しに今日に来やがった！
Who are you talking to, Hijikata? Toshi, if I will. I came looking for my daddy. I swear I don't know anything else. Lower your fucking voice with me.
親父の光道さんが何をしてるか知っててここに来たんだろうが！
I was only aware of my father being in Kyoto for his medical work, but I haven't seen him since last summer. That's all I know. I just needed to see my father, dude. What is wrong with you?
土方君、どうやら本当に何も知らないのかもしれませんよ。
Look over there whispering and shit. So what do you know about my daddy? Where is he right now? Tell me. Let me get loud with you now. The fuck?
光道さんの行方は現在新選組でも探している。
You're after my father? So
あ、
this means
勘違いしないでね。僕たちは光道さんを狙ってるわけじゃないから。
I see. A huge wave of relief came over me.
同じ幕府側の協力者なんだけど、実は彼、夏から行方知れずなんだよね。
幕府をよく思わない者たちが光道さんに目をつけた可能性が高い。
I let out an audible gasp, but Saito continued without paying me any mind.
生きている公算も高い。乱暴医は利用価値がある存在だ。
I wasn't sure what else to do, so I nodded. My heart pounded in my chest, threatening to burst on the floor.
近藤さん、どうでしょうか。同じ人物を探す者同士、彼女に手を貸してあげてはいかがかと。
手を貸すとはどういうことかね。
光道さんが見つかるまで互いに協力し合うということです。彼女に協力してもらうことで光道さんが見つかる可能性は格段に上昇するでしょう。私たちがいくら探しても姿形を変えられてしまっては見抜くことは難しい。ですが光道さんの娘である君ならば身なりが変わっていようと看破できますね。
I don't know about that, but sure. Yes, of course. I nodded as I spoke while giving him what I hope seemed like a steady, reassuring
そ
smile.
れに彼女が手中にあるというのは何かと都合がいいと思います。
どうだトシ。三男君の意見に俺は賛成だ。
Come on, Toshi. What do you say, Toshi?
こいつが本当に何も知らねえって言うんなら
It's true. All I know is that my father headed to Kyoto, but I don't know anything else. And about last night, I didn't see
ま
anything.
あ、あの乱暴医の娘となりゃ殺しちまうわけにもいかね
His eyes narrowed as he looked down at me.
えか。昨べの件は忘れるって言うんなら父親が見つかるまでお前を保護してやる。
君の父上を見つけるためならば我ら新選組は協力は惜しまんとも。
Thank you so much. I never imagined something like this. I was elated to have escaped death, but not only had I survived, but I found my first decent lead.
殺されずに済んでよかったね。とりあえずはだけど。
There was no denying that my situation was still less than desirable, but it didn't matter for now. Yes, I'm very glad. Against all odds, at last I found help where I'd never had expected it, the Shinsengumi. The first day in Kyoto was quite the adventure. In spite of everything I'd seen, my fortune was improving with every step. I still had a long way to go, but keeping positive was my only hope.
雪村君、よかったね。これからはよろしく頼むよ。
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure for me as well.
なあ、ゲンさん。女子となれば、ここのような男女体では申し訳ない気がするんだが。
That's true.
そうですね。
Kondu crossed his arms and thought deeply.
不便があれば言うといい。その都度可能な範囲で対処しよ
う。Thank you. Arigato.
まあ、女の子となりゃ手厚くもてなさんといかんよな。
新八さん、女の子に弱いもんな。でもだからって手のひら返すの早すぎ。
いいじゃねえか。これで豚書が華やかになると思えば、新八に限らずはしゃぎたくもなるだろう。
Headquarters of the Shinsengumi, it was located in the Mibu area and it was where members lived and took their meals. I wasn't entirely sure I believed that sentiment.
とはいえ、ここでは女性として扱うのは難しそうです。大使として扱うのもまた問題ですし。
なら誰かの交渉にすりゃいいだろう。近藤さんとか三男さんとか。
An assistant to a samurai or noble, traditionally a young man.
やだな、土方さん。そういう時は言い出しっぺが責任取らなくちゃ。
ああ、そうだな。都市のそばなら安心だ。
そういうことで土方君、彼女のことよろしくお願いしますね。
Hold on. I want y'all to see his face, bro.
てめえら、勝手に決めてるんじゃねえ！
Bro, I'm dead. Bro is pissed. As I watched their back and forth, some of my earlier relief began to ebb away. And this is how the Shinsengumi had come to look after me. End of chapter? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things to support, let me know that you guys like the content or whatever. Anyways, love you guys. Bye, besties. See you next time.